You know how when you've got an exam or an assignment or a presentation and it's 2 weeks away, you know that there's plenty of time, so you don't do too much about it. And you recall how I told you that I had to take the Troopy in on the 31st for roadworthy check, which is really also to accompany fixing the starter and the spongy brakes. Well, that was the 31st of January, and that's tomorrow, and I still haven't done a couple of things. So let's get those wipers sorted quick. Oh, just before I get started, by the way, that aerial that I used was this one here, which is the AEM7, and this is the fiberglass antenna with the base lead and plug. So if you've got a similar car or a similar dilemma, this is the one to get. And the blades too. I think I mentioned this are the SC18. So here. Now what we've got here is the arms, and first of all, let's take out the screws that we used. Now what I've also got is a tap and die set, so let's see if we can find what the size this is. So it seems that it's an M4. Look, I'm not certain about that, but let's just try it anyway. It's actually not right. It must be an M3, I think. So we might just leave that one out for now. We'll come back to that. But if we can at least get the others in. So in this, we have the blade, but we also have those other parts. Do you remember? Now I think this side one is the one that goes on this. Now let's see how that works. So I think what we have to do is remove, so there's a part that's already fitted there. Can you see that? And I think what we have to do is remove that. By pushing it down. That part. Then this clips on. Like so. That simple. Now the arm then goes in like so. And it's fastened with the screw. So we need a second screw for that one. So for now, why don't we fit this one, which has 2 screw holes, and put in 2 new screws. Perfect. Now the second one, what we're going to do is see if we can find a screw that will fit in that. So let me go and try that. No luck with that, so what we're going to do is just put it on without, and then it didn't have one before anyway because that screw was broken off, as you know. I'll just see if we can find one in our travels. We can't afford to spend a half a day searching. So this is the part we need again. And let's compare it with this. So first of all, we'll remove this bit here. And this part goes on like so. Like so. There's a clip. The arm goes into it. Like this. And you only have one screw. Which we'll put in good and tight. So this is a 12 mil. Just test them. Now the radio, and the problem with the radio, of course, is that we took it out some time back, and it takes a bit of a genius to remember how it came out, so we can put it back in the reverse order. And I'd like to apply for that job. Let's grab all the parts. No time like the present for a banana, I think. Let's just knock that over. In the meantime, work out exactly what's going to happen. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4 screws that look the same. I reckon they're the ones that hold the radio in. Maybe not. There's also 4 screws that don't look the same. And I wonder if, because these are offset, these screws go in here. And I reckon that's the case, which means that these screws Go back there, I reckon that's the case. Let's see. I've only got 3 of these, so let's see if we can find a 4th like one of these. But let's put this glove box on, because there's a stack of screws in here. Just gonna have to get you to move. There we go. So let's start her up, take her for a ride, see if everything works, and put the battery on charge, because I think the battery probably needs it. Let's just check the voltage first. So we got 12.65 volts, which is pretty good. So maybe we'll still put the charger on overnight. So I dropped the Troopy off last Friday, picked it up this week with a bit of a list, and I'll go through that with you so you can see what it is that I need to do. And I just wanted to have a chat about this little lovey here, because as you can see, she's still got these socks on here. Now at the moment she's still got a bolt in this left leg here, and she's got a splint on the right leg here. And we're taking her in every Tuesday and Friday, so twice a week for bandage dressing changes, and when they wash the wound and apply some antiseptic ointment, and then redress, because she did have an infection. And also on the left hand side here, where that bolt goes through, there's an incision where they access the nut and then the bolt end, and there was some weeping from that. So but she's on the mend, as you can see. She's getting around quite well, albeit stiff-legged because of these splints and stuff, but she's in good spirits. Is there anything you want to say a few words to anyone, love? You can't jump down. You can't jump down. You can't. So Millie's gone inside. She was pretty keen to get out, as you could see. But I just wanted to go through this list with you. Now there's quite a few things, but I suppose they are to be expected given both the age of the car and the mileage. I mentioned that the brakes were spongy, and it's not immediately obvious what that is, but it was observed that the front rotors were undersized. The The disc pads were required. The rear brake drums were required to be replaced. Rear wheel cylinder right hand side. The rear brake shoes were okay, but a brake fluid flush was required, and then of course obviously from there, you know, you can determine whether it's still spongy, whether it's in fact something to do with some of those, you know, leaking wheel cylinders, etc. There's a couple of suspension issues, a clunk in front suspension which when turning, but I actually think that that's the typical noise that can be heard in a front leaf spring suspension, in that when you turn, the leaves tend to slide across each other and clunk. And I don't know if there's actually a cure or a treatment for that, short of putting some grease between them or something, you know, just so that they slide more freely rather than clunk across. But, you know, that's something we can look at. There's some bushes, it looks like, that might need replacing. Pretty well all of the suspension in terms of shock absorbers probably need replacing, and that's not necessarily a bad or a particularly expensive thing. There is some play in a wheel bearing, and so probably, you know, doing wheel bearings, both front wheel bearings would help. Battery tray is not secure, so that's a fairly easy fix. So most of these are fairly simple. A washer jet is blocked, brake and clutch pedal rubbers required. These are relatively simple things. It was also observed that there was that the driver's side door window regulator, which I've spoken about before. It goes down halfway, then stops, and then you've got to push it. And I think there's a missing tooth, so something like that can be done. This rear door, and I'll show you a picture of that. This has been welded here or repaired, but it's still probably, loose. It's not actually even attached. So probably hunt around and see if I can find myself a whole new rear door, but I'd already spoken about doing that anyway. There is some oil leaks / fluid leaks of some sort, whether it's oil or diesel or power steering fluid is not certain, but we'll give it a bit of a degrease. And we did do a little the other day, but maybe we just have to get underneath and do a much better job of all of that and see what we can come up with. So on the whole, it's not huge. Now, he did pick up on a couple of rust spots, and we'll walk around and I'll show you what I'm talking about. Now, two of these we're aware of, and that's this one here. He said, you know, to finish this off so it doesn't look as though it's been patched with fiberglass, you know. So in other words, we might even have a go at that this afternoon. The other one was in here, where we've also spoken about, so we know about that, where there is an air gap in there, and that might involve drilling this strip off, pulling off that, and then patching all of that. At the same time, we can see what we're going to do about that, whether that's fiberglass or something there. We'll have a look at that. He did observe these, but I'm not certain that they're a roadworthy item, seeing as they're not really structural. It was just an observation that he made, that one and the one on the other side need replacing. Now, the one that we didn't know about is right here, and you can see that there's a hole there. So what we might do is get in there with a wire wheel and see what we can see just there. Let's get stuck in and do a bit of wire wheel work. It's not all the way through the inner skin, it's only on that outer skin. So I think if we give it a bit of treatment with a rust converter and then spray it with a rust proofing paint and a bit of fiberglass on, I think it'll be as good as gold. Let's have a look at that top bit and see if we can clean that up a bit. Well, that was sudden. Time to go and get a cuppa, I reckon.